Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Congresswoman Michelle Fischbach. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me today.
Of course, it is a busy day, busy week for your state. Let's talk about the day first. Today is primary day. How are you feeling?
You know what? I'm feeling really good. We've been working hard for the people of the 7th District for the last 3.5 years, and I think that'll show in the primary results.
So now let's take it back a week. Vice President Kamala Harris officially tapped your state's governor, Governor Tim Walz, as her running mate. What's your response?
I will say this. It is laughable that they are trying to make him out to be a moderate. He is a radical liberal. And so the people of Minnesota know that and have seen what he has done.
Let's talk about that a little further because according to polls up until last week, Governor Walz was not a household name nationally. And people are pointing to his time in Congress. He won as a Democrat in a district that Trump won pretty handily. So some are pointing to the fact that because of that, he can win over Republicans and Democrats alike. You're obviously not thinking that's true. Tell us more.
You know what? I think when they really see his record, and I think he has done a lot as governor that is incredibly radical. You take a look at, he let Minneapolis burn, and he has not been supporting law enforcement. We all watched as Minneapolis burned. They had to desert the third precinct, the third police precinct. He's a radical on abortion. He even took away money for crisis pregnancy centers because he is radical on abortion. He supports abortion up until the time of birth. He signed into law the bill that takes away any kind of rights for a baby who is born alive from a botched abortion. He repealed that law. We're looking at this as he is a radical, not only just on those social issues, but in addition to that, they had a $13.2 billion surplus, and he blew through that surplus and raised taxes.
This was his response when asked about his record and if it would face attacks from the right. Quote, "What a monster." He was kidding, obviously. Kids are eating and having full bellies so they can go learn, and women are making their own healthcare decisions. What do you make of his response?
They're just trying to gaslight. They are trying to take away from the real issues that concern people. That what he has really done. He has done that all along, and I think that's part of the reason he was able to win. A lean red district. Is that he was able to just respond with these flippant answers and not really get to the crux of the policies that he was promoting and what he was really doing. There's questions about his military service, and don't take that from me. Take it from the fellow guardsmen who are questioning him and calling him out on that. And that was something that was already out there, and Vice President Harris still chose him as her running mate. And so that just makes me question her judgment too.
I actually had the opportunity to speak with one of your colleagues, Representative Jake Auchincloss, yesterday. He's a Marine, and he said that the attacks against Governor Walz were despicable and a desperate smear job. Is attacking the service of a veteran a winning strategy?
We certainly honor his service, but like I said, I'm going to have to listen to those guardsmen who served with him, who know him, and they're calling him out on it. They're calling him out and asking the questions about his service. And I honor their service too, and I believe what they're saying.
What are people in Minnesota saying about Walz being tapped? I'm sure you've talked to constituents, especially because it is primary day.
Absolutely. People of Minnesota are just surprised that he would be picked because he is so radical. But I'm not surprised in the sense that she wanted someone radical, and they're going to try to paint him as moderate. And it's like I said earlier, it's just laughable. And the people are surprised that Minnesota, spending that surplus, raising their taxes. He's not doing anything for the economy here. Spending continues to the out of control spending in the state of Minnesota, and the radical social policy that he is putting forward.
Former Congressman Charles DeJoux, he was a Republican back when he was a member of Congress. He served with Tim Walz while Tim Walz was in Congress, and he said he was able to find common ground with the governor when they were both in the House, that they both worked across the aisle. Have you ever found an instance of Governor Walz working across the aisle?
I didn't serve with him when he was in Congress before I got there, and I wasn't in the state legislature, but I will tell you from what I have heard from those state legislators, they had nothing to do, from Republican state legislatures. He certainly didn't reach across the aisle when he was passing all of this legislation. When they had the House, the Democrats had the House and the Senate and the governor's office, and they were passing this radical legislation right and left, and they were not at all taking into consideration anything the Republicans said or wanted or opposed or supported. There was no reaching across the aisle last legislative session.
New polls indicate that in head-to-head matchups between Harris and Donald Trump, Harris's lead is now expanding, and this comes after she tapped Walz as her running mate. Does this concern you as a Republican?
You know what? They are getting their honeymoon period right now in the bump in the polls. But I trust that the American people, when they find out what they're really about, and we get into September and October of this year, and people are really paying attention to what's going on, that they will understand the radical policies, the things that they want to do to this country. And I think they'll understand that the Biden-Harris administration has not dealt with the economy, and that will continue.
It seems like Republicans and perhaps even Donald Trump have been caught flat-footed after Biden dropped out and Harris is now the nominee. Have you heard anything about a recalibration of sorts in the Trump campaign?
I have not heard about it personally, but I am sure they are doing what they need to do. It is a different opponent because they forced President Biden out, and now they obviously. The campaign changes.
Are you concerned about Donald Trump trailing in the polls and how it will affect House races, including your own?
No, because I think that honeymoon period will soon end when the American people figure out and find out what Harris Walz is really about, and I think we'll be all right.
Congresswoman, what specifically are you looking out for when it comes to the election between now and November?
We're going to be out there talking to the American people and talking about the economy and the border, and that's what people are concerned about right now. And I think in particular the economy and inflation, particularly as we go back to school, kids, you're having to buy new shoes and clothes and school supplies, and so that's what we're going to be looking at, talking about the economy so that people understand who can get this economy moving and inflation down.
Congresswoman, I appreciate the time today. I appreciate the conversation. You're welcome back anytime. Thanks again.
Well, thank you so much, and you have a great day.